Good afternoon, everyone. How are we all? Very quickly, just before we get started, I just want to give a massive shout out and a thank you to all my sort of regular subscribers that have sent me goodwill messages and messages of support. Thank you all very much. Shout out to Joe Stunner, whose conversations have kept me sane through this period. So shout out to Joe, and a shout out to my brother from another, Loz D. Give me some hood support. Just a fucking top guy, so thanks, Loz. Last night, I popped into Loz's live chat on his live show. Shout out, Loz. And the discussion, the topic sort of turned to Babic against Johnny Fisher, which is proposed for July 6th. And there's this thing, there's a lot of shitting on Johnny Fisher, and there was quite a bit of shitting on Alan Babic as well. And the sentiment was, the hype jobs, you know, they were both hype jobs. First off, I think it's a great fight. I mean, both of these guys are always going to give you absolute value for money. They're always going to give you absolute 150% in the ring. You're never going to get a dull fight. You're guaranteed action. And they really fucking give it all. To me, like, these guys kind of almost don't get enough respect. When it comes to hype jobs, what is even the definition of a hype job? What constitutes a hype job? Because I've never seen any of these two guys being touted as future undisputed heavyweight champions. Not at all. These are guys that have just picked it up. They're on a journey. Who knows how far the journey goes, but it's certainly a fun, entertaining ride on the way. And these two against each other, you're probably going to find it hard to find a more entertaining or action-packed or brutal fight than these two are going to have. I mean, personally, I think you're going to get 2, 3, 4 rounds of absolute fucking wild action. And then I would say a stoppage by Johnny Fisher. He's just a bigger, stronger, fresher lump. Alan Babic is the same. He's just not as big, not as strong, not as fresh. But as brave, and in being so, we're guaranteed sort of an almost definite, probably short fight of the year contender, regardless of what you think of both. Both guys are actually genuinely nice guys. I watched an interview with Alan Babic a while ago, and it was after his last loss, and he said that even people that he thought were close to him, even people in his sort of team, friends in his personal life, all flew the nest. All flew the nest when his run sort of ended. And this is the thing with boxing. We talk about it being a tough, brutal sport, which it is, but it's not just a tough, brutal sport physically. It's tough in the way that when you're winning and on top, everyone's in your camp, everyone's in your corner, and everyone wants to tag along for the ride. But as soon as you lose and become insignificant, they all do one. And this happened to Alan Babic, and it was quite an open, frank interview with Alan Babic, and you kind of felt for him. Because this sport takes no fucking prisoners, does it? But I think both guys are good guys, both top guys. I made a video about Johnny Fisher previously, about what an interesting, good lad he was, and just a good, solid individual, just a nice lad. So when it comes to hype job and the shitting on these guys, and I'll take a guess and say predominantly a lot of the guys that shit on guys like this have probably never put a pair of gloves on and never entered a ring. And are sitting from an armchair calling these guys hype jobs. What constitutes a hype job? You know, I'll reiterate. I've never seen either of these two touted as the next big thing or a next future undisputed heavyweight champion. So when I see them being called sort of hype jobs and just kind of being shit on, it just leaves a bad taste in me. I'm not a fan of that. These guys are going in the ring, they're drawing hands with another man. And their styles dictate that they kind of are going to get beaten to a pulp whilst trying to beat the other guy to a pulp. So, it's a bit unfair to call these two sort of hype jobs when, to me, from what I've seen, they haven't been touted as hype jobs. Johnny Fisher, I believe it was reported to be, is the biggest independent ticket seller in British boxing, which is some feat, and he brings a great support. So, I just take my hat off to both fellas. I like both fellas, and both of these guys are going to give you nothing but 150% in entertainment, and they're going to give it all in the ring, regardless of how far they go. So I'm along for the ride. I like both guys, regardless of how good they are technically and their standing in the overall sort of rankings and things like that, and how far they're going to go. We've seen Babic's ceiling, but Johnny Fisher we haven't. But you wouldn't expect Johnny Fisher to go on to win elite world honours, would you? It'd be an amazing story if he did. But who cares? Who cares? You know, I'm not in with the hype job and the shitting on. That's not me. I don't do that. I respect every fighter that gets in there. And I like both of these guys, and both guys with everything. So in terms of this fight, I'm super looking forward to it. I can't wait. You know, almost a dream matchup. I said before that I know Fabio Wardy has probably moved on a bit in levels than Johnny Fisher, obviously, but that always struck me as an absolute barnstormer, you know, an absolute war that would have been, and great to see. But yeah, Babic v Fisher, I'm all over it, I'm up for it, and I'm along for the ride. So, you know, I don't care. Hype job's not for me, because I don't see him being hyped as anything other than what they kind of are. So yeah, Babic v Fisher, sign me up. I mean, I'll be there, I'll be watching. Last night, Savannah Marshall, I know no one's really going to be interested in this, but last night Savannah Marshall made her MMA debut in the PFL. Now, first of all, that fight was commentated on by Adam Smith. So Adam Smith doing a bit of commentary on MMA. And Adam Smith has spoke at length about how he's been a mentor to Savannah Marshall and quite a few other pro sportsmen. I'm not quite sure what capacity that means. And being a mentor, I'm not sure in a professional role what that entails, but he's very close. Clarissa Shields was there, and she came into the ring afterwards, and Savannah Marshall challenged her to an MMA fight. Clarissa Shields looked a bit bemused by the whole thing. Didn't really know. It was hard to gauge how she was kind of taking the whole thing. But Savannah Marshall got a first round stoppage. She took a few leg kicks early on, a few low leg kicks. She didn't see them coming. She was taken down twice, and she was on her back. One of them, she was in a full guard position on her back, but she escaped both times and got to her feet. Now, dare I say, she said afterwards she'd been training for 9 months in MMA. And dare I say, I didn't know the opponent, don't know what level she is. I'm not sure about the level in the PFL MMA compared to the UFC, but Savannah Marshall, arguably, to me, looked almost more comfortable in the octagon. Like I say, on one fight and 9 months of training, I've never thought she was the most fluid, you know, boxer, and I was never that impressed by her, if I'm honest. She was a decent puncher, a good puncher, but, you know, she kind of got schooled by Clarissa Shields. But in MMA, I've got to say, for one fight and for 9 months training, and as I said before, I don't know the level of the girl she was fighting, but she took her lumps, put her butt, you know, she escaped 2 takedowns, got back to her feet. You know, she looked quite good. She moved well. She done things well. Other than escaping the takedown, she didn't do that much really MMA. She moved about well, and she threw hands for most of the time. But she got a first round stoppage, and for all intents and purposes, regardless of the level, she looked kind of good doing it. So yeah, like I say, Adam Smith commentating, Clarissa Shields was there. Apparently she will fight Clarissa Shields now in an MMA fight. But yeah, I didn't see many people talking about it, and maybe not because it's MMA and it's not boxing, and we are predominantly boxing channels. But yeah, Savannah Marshall, first round stoppage in. I'm not even sure this was on DAZN, and she had PFL logo. So, you know, I'm not an expert on this by any means, obviously. So, you know, just thought I'd chat about it. As something to talk about. Anyway, that's it. A little video for this afternoon. If you come here regular at all, and you're in the slightest way interested by what you see, hit like and hit subscribe. I don't ask for that very often, because it's fucking annoying when you go on channels and you constantly get hit like and hit subscribe. But I could do with a like, like I could do with the subscribers. So that's it. I'll see you all soon.